After 2, welcome back. Hour 3 underway. It's time for today's rock and roll flashback. We take you back to Labor Day weekend this day in 1965. What were the top 15 songs according to Billboard's Top 100? We'll find out in just a moment. For this afternoon, a mix of clouds and sunshine. High near 70 degrees, cloudy tonight, showers developing late, low near 55. Rain tomorrow through mid-afternoon, then a chance of showers. High in the mid-60s, chance of showers Sunday evening, otherwise clouds overnight. Low in the mid-50s, sunny on Labor Day with a high in the low 80s. Partly sunny right now, 67 degrees outside. Let's begin our countdown. At number 15, a song that was released earlier in the year by Dobie Gray. This was the remake that became a top 10 hit eventually. It's an instrumental version of the In Crowd with the Ramsey Lewis Trio. Song number 15 on this day in 1965, the Ramsey Lewis Trio. Ramsey Lewis formed that trio way back in the late 1950s, originally called themselves the Gentlemen of Swing, a jazz-oriented trio. And then they were known as the Ramsey Lewis Trio. That was their biggest pop hit, the In Crowd, song number 15 on this day in 1965. It's today's rock and roll flashback. What were the top 15 songs Labor Day weekend in 1965? Up next, some Motown magic for you from Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Song number 14, it's Tracks of My Tears. His real name was William Robinson. We knew him and loved him, of course, and still do today as Smokey. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, one of so many classic Motown hits back in the 60s. Song 14 on this day in 1965, Labor Day weekend, and the Tracks of My Tears, song that was remade twice over the years. Johnny Rivers recorded a remake 2 years later in 67, and in the 70s, Linda Ronstadt brought the song back again. 15 after 2, the original Solid Gold weekend. So glad you could drop by and join us on the radio as we make memories, specifically this hour, Labor Day weekend 1965, the top 15 songs. Up next at song 13, he was a drummer, he was a guitarist, he was a pop singer, he was raised in Georgia. When he was in high school, he had aspirations of becoming a pop star, formed a group called the Corvettes. They had local success, but it wasn't until the summer of 1965 he released his first and biggest hit record, song 13 on this day in 1965. Here's Billy Joe Royal and Down in the Boondocks. That is Billy Joe Royal hanging on to song 13 on this day in 1965 and Down in the Boondocks, 17 after 2 o'clock, as we remember the end of the summer 1965, Labor Day weekend of 65. We're counting down the top 15 songs on Billboard's Top 100. Up next at number 12, kind of a folk pop rock group that formed while the guys were all attending Westchester High School in Los Angeles. They formed the group in the early 60s, back in 1962. 3 years later, in 1965, they had their first national hit record, a song that was written by Bob Dylan. What a great way to start. Song 12 on this day in 1965. Here come the Turtles, and It Ain't Me, Babe. That was the first of 9 top 40 hits for the Turtles back in the 60s. Song number 12 on this day in 1965, It Ain't Me, Babe. 20 minutes after 2, Name That Oldie coming up. I'll give you a chance to win some prizes later on this hour. We're in the middle of our countdown, the top 15 songs. Labor Day weekend, September 2nd, 1965. Up next, certainly the most successful Motown female group of all time. They had dozens of top 40 records back in the 1960s and early 70s. This particular song peaked this week at song number 11 for Diana Ross and the Supremes. Here's Nothing But Heartaches. Diana Ross, Florence Ballard, and Mary Wilson, together the Supremes, and they created so much great magic on vinyl. Thanks to Barry Gordy and Motown Records back in the 60s. Supremes was song number 11 on this day in 1965, and Nothing But Heartaches. 24 after 2, partly sunny this afternoon. High near 70, 67 degrees, mix of clouds and sunshine right now. What a great year it was for rock and roll music. What a great week it was, too. Labor Day weekend, September 2nd, 1965. We're making our way into the top 10. And at number 10, a pop singer. He was an actor as well. He grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. As a matter of fact, he was on local radio when he was 4 years old in the Cincinnati area. Appeared with Lionel Hampton on stage many times. Became an actor as well. He had bit parts on TV shows like Marcus Welby and Sanford and Son and several others. He had some hit records. This was his biggest, song number 10 on this day in 1965. Here's Mel Carter with Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me. There's Mel Carter with a song that was originally recorded by a young lady named Karen Chandler. Became a top 10 hit way back in the early 50s. Great remake, great version of Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me. Mel Carter at song 10 on this day in 1965. Up next at number 9, it was a one-hit wonder for a pop singer who began his career in the early 60s, sang with the New Christy Minstrels, had a hit of his own, a Great song. It was a bit of a political song, became eventually a #1 song with song number 9 on this day in 1965. Here's Barry McGuire and The Eve of Destruction. Here's song number 9 on this day in 1965, a classic from Barry McGuire, The Eve of Destruction, 29 away from 3. We'll play Name That Oldie in just a couple of minutes as we remember this day, Labor Day weekend, September 2nd, 1965. Up next at number 8, one of the greatest R&B singers of all time, if not the greatest. He began his career back in the 1950s, had hit records in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. The career just continued. He had a classic on this day in 1965, song number 8. Here's James Brown, and Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. He was nicknamed, of course, the godfather of soul music. Great, the late James Brown. Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, song 8 on this day back in 1965. We're just about 27 away from 3 o'clock. Don't forget, coming up next hour, singer, former game show host, and actor John Davidson with us. We'll see what he's up to these days. He'll be my guest at 3:30. And, of course, at 4, we turn our attention to the doo-wop years of rock and roll. Up next, one of my favorite songs from 1965, a great one-hit wonder, a pop group from California. Turned out to be their only hit record, but what a classic. Song number 7 on this day in 65, it's the We Five, and You Were On My Mind. That is song number 7 on this day, Labor Day weekend in 1965. Woke up this morning and You Were On My Mind, group called the We Five, 23 before 3 o'clock. On the original Solid Gold weekend, I'm Warren Lawrence. We're up to song 6. Just last week, this was number 1. Fell from number 1 to number 6. It certainly put these folks on the map. Here's Sonny and Cher, song number 6 on this day in 1965 with I Got You Babe. Sonny and Cher, song 6 on this day in 1965, and I Got You Babe. 2:40, 20 away from 3. Let's play Name That Oldie again. And your chance to win. I've got the first 2 seconds of an oldie. It's in our countdown, of course. If you can identify that song, you'll win some prizes. We have a gift certificate from the Cake Box Bakery and breakfast or lunch from the Home Plate Deli. If you haven't won in the last 30 days, of course, you can call in and play. Good luck. And here are your 2 seconds. Whoa. 331-1490 right now to win on Name That Oldie. And back in our countdown at song number 5, more classic Motown. It's the Four Tops with the same old song. Levi Stubbs and the Four Tops. It was song number 5 on this day in 1965, the same old song. 17 away from 3, and Sue Prokop, our winner. Sue came up with the right answer. Identified, well, a song that was recorded by a lot of people over the years. It was a doo-wop version in the early 60s by Vito and the Salutations. Al Hibbler had a great version in the mid-50s. And the Righteous Brothers in 1965 took the song up to number 4, exactly where it was on this day in 1965. They brought it back, actually. It became a top 40 hit again in 1990 when the film Ghost was released. It was part of the soundtrack of Ghost. But it's song 4 on this day in 1965. Bill Medley and Bobby Hatfield, the Righteous Brothers with Unchained Melody. Song number 4 on this day in 1965, a classic. Blue-Eyed Soul from Bill Medley, Bobby Hatfield, the Righteous Brothers, and that's Unchained Melody. It's about 12 away from 3. News on the way, top of the hour from CBS. We have the top 3 songs yet to go, and at song number 3, a family group. They formed in Hawthorne, California back in the early 60s. They were known for their car songs, their surf songs, their songs all about girls, including this classic, song number 3 on this day in 1965. It's the Beach Boys. Here's California Girls. Wish they could all be those good-looking California girls. Beach Boys, song number 3 on this day in 1965. Well, at number 2, his name was Robert Zimmerman. We know him, of course, as Bob Dylan. He had his first hit single, and what a classic it was and still is today. Song number 2 on this day in 1965 is Bob Dylan with Like a Rolling Stone. There's the great Bob Dylan with song number 2 on this day back in 1965, Like a Rolling Stone. For the remainder of today, a mix of clouds and sunshine. Temperatures near 70 degrees overnight. Turning cloudy quickly, some showers likely around midnight or so, low in the mid-50s. Rain tomorrow through mid-afternoon, then a chance of showers. High on Sunday, only 65. Chance of showers tomorrow evening. Then cloudy skies overnight, low in the mid-50s. Labor Day looking nice for the unofficial wrap-up of summer. If you have outdoor plans for Monday, looking good. Sunny skies, high in the lower 80s. Tuesday, sunny. Could see a shower thunderstorm, 83. Then turning cooler after that. Showers likely on Wednesday, 74. Cloudy on Thursday. Chance of showers, high only in the upper 60s. Right now, 68 degrees, partly sunny skies outside our studios in Midtown Kingston. Well, that leaves us with the number 1 song, Labor Day weekend on this day in 1965. It was the title song from the Beatles' second feature movie. Number 1 on this day in 1965. Here come the Beatles and Help. John, Paul, George, and Ringo, the Fab Four, the Beatles, title song from their movie Help. It was number 1 on this day, Labor Day weekend in 1965. Up next, the latest news from CBS. Next hour, we've got the request lines open again. Your favorites from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Give us a shout. We'll get yours on 331-1490. It is 3 p.m. You're listening to 1490 WKNY, Kingston, New York. The news is next from CBS.